Hey there, my good people. Welcome back to another edition of This Some Bullshit with Danis. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing one of my favorite guys, one of my closest friends. He's an author, he's a DJ, he's a photographer, but we're going to focus on his book right now. He's my friend, my fraternity brother, my boy, Michael Shane Dabney. Welcome, Mike, to my podcast. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me, man, because this means a lot to help me pursue being a full-time author.
Well, man, I appreciate you coming on, man, because I'm watching you go through your journey of starting the book way back in 2013 when you first had the idea to start talking about it and to move forward on it. It's just something that's amazing to me. What audiences don't know about you, first of all, as I like to say, is Mike, I appreciate your journey in life, man. You've gotten your bachelor's and then you went on to pursue your master's degree. And the fact that you took this journey to just jump out here just to write this book and to tell this story means a lot to people because you're showing what it means to have faith and trust in your dreams. So I'm glad that you're doing that.
Yeah. I do want to say something if you don't mind.
Go
I
ahead.
didn't start it in 2013.
Okay. When did you start?
What you may not know, I don't think you know, I actually started in 2004 when I actually started writing it. I finally did the copyright and everything and got that done in 2013. So this book took on a real journey for real.
Okay, cool. That's what's up. So what was the inspiration behind My Brother's Keeper?
The inspiration behind My Brother's Keeper is just a span of life, almost lifelong friendships that turned into brotherhoods. Because like I said, you being one of them, men that I met many, many years ago and not knowing then that it was going to turn into what it is now. Just a simple friendship that it started out to be, but the bond that transformed and grew over the years made me, think about writing this book. Actually, wasn't planning to write this. It just kind of evolved into it. I actually had a completely different book in mind, different title and everything. But the more I wrote, the more I wound up changing the actual title. And how that happened was I relied on you and other fellas, as well as y'all relied on me for different things. And I said, man, we always reach out to each other. We converse all the time. We go through ups and downs together, literally together, whether it be deaths, births, marriages, divorces, things of that nature. We all go through that and we all go through it together. And that's how the book really evolved into My Brother's Keeper. And that's why it says the subtitle is A Time in the Life of Best Friends, because it's really a snippet in time of what we do and what we've been through.
Well, with that being said, I know some of the characters in the book are named vicariously close to some of our friendships that we have and everything. So can you describe a few of the characters in the book? Like if you want to break down a couple of them without giving away too much.
I'll put it this way. I really don't want to give away the characters because that's one question that I get asked all the time. Which character is you? Because they always ask me which character I am. And I'm officially saying, yes, I'm a character in the book. Which character is who? And especially if it's some people that actually know you and other, they ask, well, who was who and who was who? And I actually don't tell them. I say, I want you to try to figure it out yourself. One character, I'll say this, one character that's been introduced in the second book is someone that he's around, but he's not around. Everybody knows him. It's like he knows everybody and knows almost everything, but he's actually quiet in a lot of ways. So people will be surprised when they find out who that person is. And there's another character that is kind of interesting. Is a brother of one of the characters in the book. And he read the first one and he said, man, can I get in the book? Can I get in the book? And I said it was interesting how I wound up writing him into the script of the book, and I think he'll like it. But it was interesting because people was wondering, okay, is this like the best man? And I would tell them yes and no. I said yes, it's based off of real characters. Yes, it's based off of a real event, not actually the specific event, but it was an event that's twisted or whatever. But I said the difference is they all know that they're in the book. They all know their stories. They all have their own copies and everything. There's no surprises when it comes to that. So that's the biggest difference. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Gotcha. Okay, okay. What gave rise to you wanting to write this book?
That actually is very interesting because what gave rise to it, which was an interesting word that you used, ever since college, undergrad, when I would write papers and things of that nature, sometimes you always have to add a story or have to, put a story into the paper or whatever. And I had few professors literally tell me, Michael, I love how you write. You write well, but can you shorten your answers a little bit? Because if a paper requires 2 to 3 pages, I can write 5 and 6, and I can write it in a blink of an eye. And so I would always have to get my have my paper shortened, which didn't count against me, but the professors was like, look, we don't want to read all that stuff. A couple of stories that I would put in the papers would reflect on an event or a situation that I've been through. And they would ask me, is this real or whatever? And I said, yeah, this is actually what I've been through because I use it as an example. And I would start getting asked, have you ever thought about writing a book? And I would always push it off. No, I ain't writing a book. No, that ain't me. No. Well, one particular night I was working in a dormitory. I was a supervisor and talking to a guy that went to school there. And he was asking me, he was going through some difficulties. And he asked me a question and wanted my advice. And so I gave him, my advice. I gave him a story basically that I went through or one of my friends had went through. And I said, man, look, I have some friends but we all go through things together. We rely on each other and so forth. He said, man, have you ever thought about writing a book? I said, you know what? It's funny that you say that because I've gotten that quite a bit over the last couple of years. So I said, no, I hadn't really thought about it. But then I went home and I stayed with one of my dear friends. Her name is Kelly Cezanne. Actually,
I
it's
know Miss Kelly.
Williams now. And I was downstairs in my room and I said, I wonder if I could just do something. So I wrote like a paragraph, basically, almost like a 2 paragraphs, just to see what I could do. And her sorority sisters happened to be there. And I took it upstairs and I said, hey, I want y'all to read something. And the line sisters read it and they were like, okay, what happens next? I said, you got to finish this. I said, okay. I went downstairs and wrote the whole first chapter. And when I wrote the first chapter, I let them read it. One of the young ladies, she started crying, literally. And the other one, her mouth dropped wide open, like in the shock. And they all were like, you have to finish this. You have to keep going. And so I did. And I wound up writing the first 6 chapters within the first couple of weeks. And for some reason, it
Wow.
just felt like it was going too fast. It was going in the wrong direction. So I actually dropped it for 2 years. I didn't touch it for two
Wow.
years. And so I picked it up in 2006, 2007, and I read the first 6 chapters. And I said, I actually like how this is going. So 32 chapters later, My Brother's Keeper was born.
Okay.
And that's how that kind of developed. It took me a long time to get it published. And I know
Okay.
I answered your question, but I went around a circle. As you can see, that's how when I write, I just flow.
Did you have to cut anything significant from the final version, such a favorite scene or a specific character or something?
Nope. I left it
Okay.
I left it the way it was, as raw as it was. And that's one thing that I think that people that have encountered me and have spoken to me about it, has read it, they like the rawness, they like the realness. One thing that I would get from everyone that has read the book, and to be frankly honest with you, I'm pleasantly shocked and surprised that on the number of people that have already picked it up since it's been out. And I just, like I said, I just now started pushing it, stepping out on faith, becoming a full-time author, doing it on my own. Not my own, but God through me and everything. Because it's been out since 2021 officially. But everyone that has read it, they're like, wow, I feel like I'm in the story. I'm walking the story with the characters. And that's one thing they really appreciate, because it's a gripping tale of life. It's not a fantasy. Like I said, there's death, there's life, there's sickness, there's joy things, it's like everything is encompassed in it. And they feel like it's really life. And that what pulls them in.
Speaking on that, you said that you stepped out and you're a full time author now. Can you dive a little bit deeper into that for me? What do you mean by that?
Yes, I used to work for the state of Illinois, and I will say this for the first time in my life, I'm 56 now. Um, up to 55, I even though having a bachelor's and a master's degree, I'm proof that education doesn't necessarily guarantee this lavish job. But I didn't make any more than, about $45,000 a year, even with a master's degree. And so I felt like more doors was getting shut than opened. I wound up getting a job because I actually, just built my home and everything. And
Congratulations.
thank you. So with that being said, I was able to secure a job with the state of Illinois, making pretty much double what I was making. But the job I had was very stressful, as you know, because you've experienced it with me, kind of vicariously with me. So throughout that stressful time, I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't focus on anything, and I couldn't hear God at all. I didn't hear anything. I always say it's hard for me to hear God anyway, because I think that's my own thing. But once I wound up leaving that position, I got a different position. It's like a calmness came over me, a peace came over me. And then I started hearing, okay, step out, step out. And I'm like, wait a minute, step out. I'm like, hold on. I mean, I just got here and I just hit this step out. It's time to step out on faith. And I questioned it, even though I'm a saved. I've been a Christian for my whole life, pretty much. I'm a PK, but all I heard was step out, trust me. And I was like, okay. And I, again, questioned it. And I went to church one day and minister was preaching and it said, I told you to trust me. So I kept hearing that in my spirit. And I was like, okay. So I put in my notice and I put in a 30-day notice and it was just like, okay. So to make a longer story shorter, September 30th was my last day working for the state of Illinois. And I stepped out on faith on my own to pursue this full time. So I'm like, all right, God, I'm out here now. That's why I do believe and feel that I'm going in the right direction, because a lot of things have happened since then that have shown me that, okay, I'm in the right direction. Just like this coming Saturday, I'm going to be at a author's showcase in Champaign-Urbana, and I'm going to be one of the featured authors. I believe it's 8 of us. And so
Okay.
that's going to be a highlight for me to continue to and moving forward.
Okay.
I think I answered
So
your
what we're
question.
going Yeah, you did. So what we do is we'll make sure we drop in the comment sections, we'll drop the location. Now we're going to transition. I have a segment, like I've told you before. One of my segments that I talk about is called Make It Make Sense. And so today I want to talk to you, Mike. I want to ask you, being an entrepreneur that you are, how has this economy affected you, but particularly this year? How's the economy affected you with your business, especially with you stepping out on faith in this economy, in these times, in these unquestionable times right now? How's that affected you?
It's affected me because even though my book is not that expensive, I did a price point where it's very affordable. People are still like, I wouldn't mind getting it, but, and I know they're thinking like they can take that $20 or $25 and go buy some lunch, go buy a dinner, or go do something like that. And so yeah, I've had people walk past me because they're thinking, hey, that's just a book. I don't need a book. I mean, I've had people say, I don't read. Yeah, we're working that out too. But usually it comes down to the fact of, hey, right now that 25 I can do something else with that. So that really has affected me, just by even my other business ventures with my company. Yeah, it can get it, people think like, hey, they're looking at the cost. And unfortunately, the way this economy has evolved, especially recently with the layoffs and the government shutdowns and things of that nature, it really has made people really sit back and second guess themselves. It made people really sit back and think, what do I choose? Do I choose food? Do I choose, heat in my home? Especially now we're getting into the winter months. And it's causing people to really react in a way where they normally wouldn't react, especially when it comes to luxuries, because buying my book is a luxury. Yes, it's a good book. It's a good read. It takes you away from the reality, at least for a little while, but still, it's a luxury. It's something you don't have to have, but you need it.
Right. So to make it make sense, what makes sense then is somebody could buy this book and give it and gift it to someone that they know is in need of something to just take them away from reality right now. Just to
Yeah.
take them to another space. So that way they can just get away from the nuances of the day. So it may make sense for someone too look at buying it as a gift. I
Yes,
get it.
that's true.
That's the way of doing it.
No, I'm saying, and I've actually been told that actually a friend of mine that's down in Georgia, her name is Star Raver. I'm dropping names, ain't I? But
Yeah.
she basically was talking about the fact of how this book can take you away from your reality, for, at least for a little while, but and also shows you that other people are going through stuff too. Because, like I said, it's based off of real events. So it takes you away, allows you to escape just for a little short in time.
So, so to make it make sense, what we can do is say, if you need an escape or you need to get away, or you just need to take your mind off something, you may consider spending the $20 to get this book. So that way you can just have a chance to just escape the everyday nuances of the world and just let your mind just be free and recharge yourself and know that there's others out there that are going through the same thing. And this book will help you to see that and see that you could be someone's keeper. You don't have to be a brother. You could be my girlfriend's keeper, my sister's keeper. So, just the title of the book itself just says, "Hey, I'm there for someone and they're there for me as well." So, Michael, again, I want to say thank you so much for coming on here with me. Also, as a little treat, you are my very first guest. So, thank you for being my first guest on my podcast. So, I appreciate you just taking the time out to just talk to me about your ventures, talk to me about your book, and to just highlight you. I want to showcase you and highlight you and say, I appreciate you, I support you, and I got your back, bro, because I'm there for you, man. And you did the same for me by coming out here. So thank you so much, bro. Love
And
you,
I
man.
I wanna say I appreciate you because, like I said, stepping out like this is very interesting, and to now come on to your first podcast and doing this, and this is a great adventure for both of us, and I'm along for the ride, like I said, I got your back no matter what, because I'm gonna help you out as best I can with everything that you got going on, so, if you already knew that, we talked anyway,
Yeah,
but
I appreciate that.
yeah, I appreciate you for wanting to allow me to be the very first, interview you had. And I just hope and pray that God blesses you as he blesses me and we both rise and excel.
Definitely, definitely. I do. I get it. So, folks, y'all make sure y'all go down to the links below. We'll have links to where you can purchase the book, where you can contact Mike if you want to book him for some signings and everything. His information will be below. And on this episode of Just Some Bullshit with Danis, we thank you for coming on here and we'll see you on the next episode.